Hey everybody, Deontay Damper, and welcome to a very special episode of We Live in Color that we would like to call Policy in Color. You know, before we launch season 3, we thought it would be best for us to take a deeper dive and double down on making sure our community members felt protected. We know what's happening, we see it in the news, and we wanted to make sure that we continue to be that community compass for all LGBTQIA community folks. I did not come alone. I have the amazing Malika Lamont, my friend Lisa Keating, as well as the amazing Moni and my friend Taylor Farley. Together, we will talk to you about policy reform in ways that you can continue to build and find allies within this very community in Western Washington. When we come back, we have the amazing Taylor Farley. You're watching We Live in Color.
In Seattle, it's more than just coffee. It's community. At the station, we brew more than just your favorite cup. We brew connection. From Beacon Hill to Columbia City, we're a space for artists, activists, and everyone in between. A place to gather, create, and simply be. Whether you need a quiet place to work, a lively spot to meet friends, or just a moment to unwind, find your place at the station. More than coffee, it's home. Visit us in Beacon Hill or Columbia City. The station, where community happens.
Getting the scholarship really changed the conversation. It went from, no, I can do school in my free time and make it work, to I could only focus on school and I could be the best I can be every single day. I can soak up everything. I can read before class and make sure I'm not just learning enough to pass a test. Like, I could really pour all my time into school. That's what having a Seattle College Foundation scholarship did for me.
Welcome back to Policy in Color, a We Live in Color special. I'm your host, Deontay Damper. And to start us off in the conversation, I'm just so happy to have Executive Director of Queer Power Alliance, Taylor Farley.
Hello.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling in this climate?
How am I feeling in the climate? Pissed off.
Yeah.
I am so done with the bullshit of this climate. And I also am feeling that our community is coming together and being powerful, as we usually do.
Yeah. And I wanted you to come first, because I think that Queer Power Alliance has done a great job with allyship, partnership that I've seen over the past couple of years. And I wanted to talk about some of your wins. So let's talk with the good, right?
Some of the wins?
Yeah.
Some of the wins around our policies have been, so we're working in coalitions, so we never do anything alone. Just want to put that out there, because when I talk about Queer Power Alliance, I'm not talking about just Queer Power Alliance, but I'm talking about all the other coalitions that we work with and all of the other people that come together. And some of our wins right now are around our community organizing for protections for tenants, protection for workers, and passing laws and bills that are making sure that people get paid and people stay housed. And we're doing these in coalitions with various different folks. And the other thing that is around how health access, health care for affirmative, gender affirming care, and for care and reproductive rights. And making sure that our youth are seeing that, we keeping them in line too, keeping them as a focal point, so that community is always being supported. And then the last areas that we have been doing some policy around is making sure that the voices of the community is always in the first places that we go.
Yeah.
So making sure that, working in our coalitions with POCAN or Antolamanos and doing our survey work.
Well, let's unpack that too, because I find ourselves too, like, there's so many different silos of our organizations that are kind of working separately, right? And I heard you name off to one Black-led and one Latin-led organization.
Yeah.
What makes you focus on making sure that we're building allyship in this space? And that's not to take away from the other organizations that aren't.
We are building collective power, because we know that they purposely try to pin us against each other. And Queer Power Alliance and myself believe that if we don't have a collective voice, they win. And we will have a collective voice. And so it really matters about, especially with the queer voice and trans-led Black voice, those are important voices to be set in front and center.
Why you say that?
Because they're the most marginalized folks. They have lived experience. They know what they need, and we should be surrounding them. And when they are doing well, everybody else does well. And so we have to make sure that we embrace that. And our Latinx and our Black-led organizations know their people. They know what needs to be happening. And when we go and have these conversations with our Indigenous folks also, we have 9 different focus groups that we're working on right now. We have the Pacific Islanders. We have Indigenous folks that we just met with. We have people formerly incarcerated, and Latinx, people with disabilities, trans and non-binary folks. Those are some of the folks that we're gonna be, that are leading the work, know what they need, and help us create the policies that are gonna move for them.
Yeah, and the other issue that I've had in this space is like taking a deeper dive on policy, right? Especially in the areas of gender affirming care. Have you gotten any pushback in that space for that?
Ask again, sorry.
We know that community members have they've been attacking our trans siblings in our community, especially when it comes to gender affirming care. Has your organization gotten any pushback for advocating for that?
What's interesting to me is that we haven't gotten pushback, our organization. And I think that's because we do work in these larger groups. And so when us personally are putting forward everyone else and making sure that they're being seen, we stand in the back. I have been able to go into places and have conversation and make sure that when people are fading out or quieting or no longer listening, that's where I get to use my own privilege as a white person showing up, and as a queer white person showing up and saying, hello, we're not going to do things as usual, listening to these folks. And I think that I don't get that pushback because I am white. And I will always step forward and use that privilege to my advantage.
Yeah, and community appreciates that. And I also wanted to ask too, what are if you can give community members 3 pointers of like what we need to be doing now, what would those be?
For our community, what we need to be doing is coming together. Again, that building that collective power, making sure that we're not all doing the same thing and repeat, recycle, repeat. Let's do it together. Let's all be in the room together. We brought in a listening session so that we could hear what each other needed, so that we can make sure that, and that was in partnership with Spokane Pride and with Washington LGBTQ Commission. And we wanted to make sure that across Washington State, nobody in the rural areas were being left out either. But what we could do is definitely come together, listen, prioritize what needs to happen first, and then move accordingly. We always are going to be needing to do it in collective organizing.
Yeah, collective, and no one should be alone in this work. But I've been finding that people are coming out of the silo frame of mind and starting to build with one another, and I've always appreciated your organization for that. And what are some of the things that Queer Power Alliance is doing now?
Right now, we're really, I would love to just plug in, we're really pushing for renter stabilization. We're not doing that alone. That's a big coalition. There's a big group. Let your legislators know.
Can you unpack renter stabilization for us?
Rent stabilization is making sure that across Washington State that the rent does not go up over 7%. There's been some bad amendments that have been put in. We need to kill those bad amendments and move it forward the way that it was originally written. And this is so that people know what kind of rent expectations that they're going to have every year. If the rent's going to go up 7%, instead of this arbitrary not knowing and being forced to move out of their communities, away from the folks that they've built relationship with and their neighbors. Nobody wants to move constantly, and it costs too much. So this provides an opportunity for folks to be stable in their housing, have predictable rent, and as the current climate is, we have unpredictability with legislative in the nation, and so we need some predictability in our housing, and that's what stabilization will do. And we're meeting up on Friday from 11 to 1 with the Washington Low-Income Housing, and we are fighting for these policies, this particular policy, to be pushed in a way that will protect our community. Because if we keep getting pushed out of housing and rents keep going up, we're gonna have no housing to live in.
Yeah. And it seems like I love the fact that we're talking about making sure, one, we stay housed, above all else, that we can't do it alone, and being able to listen to our folks in rural communities who usually go ignored. And I appreciate y'all for tapping in that space, but I want community members to also tap in with y'all. We're gonna do this thing called call to action. So I would love for you to look in that camera right now and let community members know what to do and where to find you.
So you're welcome to find us at queerpoweralliance.org. On our social medias, we're always on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also send us an email at info@queerpower.org. We currently are working on civic engagement. We're building our advocacy and our leadership development. And we're also doing small circles. So if you're one of the South King County folks that live out there and you are in one of those areas that I described earlier, please feel free to email us and say that you want to be on the registration. We will stipend you, because that's the other big thing. We believe that your leadership is worth a lot. I think that's it.
No, I think there's more. Right?
There's always more.
And I just want to thank you for coming in here in space, and just have appreciated not just your friendship, but your allyship in community. And I appreciate the work that you and Queer Power Alliance have been doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have the amazing Director of Vocal Washington, Malika Lamont. You're watching Policy in Color, a We Live in Color special.
Ready to be intentional with your spending? Whether you're gifting it or using it for yourself, the Buy Black card allows you to shop at many different Black-owned businesses across the greater Seattle area, like Love a Latte, Dramer Ice Cream, Maltese Beauty Supply, Pizza by Ruffin, The Spa House by Queen Care, and so many more. You can see the full list of participating businesses when you sign up for your Buy Black card at intentionalist.com. And thanks to our friends at BECU, you'll save 20% when you load your card. Spend like it matters with the Buy Black card.
And we're back with We Live in Color, Policy in Color, special edition, special episode. I am here with the amazing Director of Vocal, Malika Lamont. I haven't seen you in a while, so I love you, and I'm just happy you're here.
I love you too, and it's good to see you in real life.
It's good to see you, but we talk about policy all the time. Mm-hmm. Vocal has always done great advocacy work with community members that have been impacted by HIV, substance use, mass incarceration, the war on drugs.
And the war on drugs.
And the war on drugs. And where are we at in policy? Do you feel like, are we in danger?
Yeah. We're, you in danger, girl. Anyway, to quote Whoopi Goldberg. Anyway, the ways that we're moving in policy, sadly, are very regressive. There seems to be this embrace of policy that we know is harmful and disproportionately harmful to Black and brown people and poor people. and an embrace of it as if it is something new or that it worked the last time that we did it. And oddly enough, at the same time, there's still conversation about disparity. However, there's this lean into policies that created those disparities. So it just seems like there's a real disconnect in a lot of the policy spaces. And even when, for example, with the Recovery Navigator program in Washington State, that is a statewide implementation of the LEAD model. It is an opportunity for people that are experiencing behavioral health issues, both substance use and mental health, as well as poverty, that are engaging in behaviors that have been criminalized or their existence has been criminalized. And it's an opportunity for law enforcement and community members to refer them into wraparound services. And we have been very successful in many places across the state in implementing a community-based response. Every county in Washington State has at least one team of people that are providing this community-based response to public safety issues for all of us. And the governor wanted to cut it at 50%, and it has been put forth by the Washington State Senate to cut it at 100%. So that infrastructure across the state that impacts our most marginalized, supports our most marginalized people, is really very threatened. The House has said that they would do a 10% cut, and that's survivable. But a 50% cut, that's pretty much the same as it not existing anymore.
And I just think about the harm that it'll cause, not just towards, I live in King County, but what harm as someone who lives in a rural community, what harms do you think that this will do to the other folks?
Oh, this will be huge, a huge harm in rural communities. It was developed being a person that has spent most of my life in rural communities, my advocacy in the beginning was to do a rural equity model with the recognition that even in rural areas, disproportionality is very real. And we were able to implement that with a rural equity model. And we're seeing that in a lot of areas in the state, it has taken off like wildfire in a good way. Law enforcement are engaged. They see the value of referring folks into and diverting folks into these wraparound services in order for them to help stabilize their lives, for individuals to stabilize their lives. And also that people with lived experience are getting the opportunity through this implementation to professionalize their lived experience, to be case managers and work alongside folks, direct programs. The impact is huge. And in some rural areas, it is some of the only infrastructure that they have. People shouldn't have to leave home and their community and their natural supports in order to get access to behavioral health care.
Yeah.
And this has created, for the first time in our state, capacity in all corners of Washington State for you to receive support for behavioral health.
To quote Taylor, I won't say the exact words he said, but at the same time for myself, I'm overwhelmed. I'm pissed because I think about our LGBTQIA community members that do live in rural areas.
Right.
And I'm more so wanting to ask, in vocal standpoint, what are some of the things that we can do to take action to make sure that we're uplifting them in policy?
When we talk about communities that are disproportionately impacted by behavioral health, both substance use and mental health, due to stigma, LGBTQIA folks are disproportionately impacted by homelessness, especially youth, substance use disorder diagnosis, as well as discrimination in, accessing a myriad of necessities that we all need, like housing, community support. And building this infrastructure has been very impactful across the whole entire state. So for it to potentially not be there is frankly unconscionable, in my opinion. And so we are advocating. Folks have activated all across the state. And if any of the viewers from tonight would be interested in activating, we're suggesting that folks reach out to their representatives and their senators from their district. You can go on the the Washington State legislature, website, and you can put in your address, and it'll tell you who your senator and your representatives are. And we would suggest that you send them a letter telling them if you've been impacted by Recovery Navigator program, or if you just support that other folks should be able to continue to have access to that, letting them know that. We are getting into the final days of the legislative session, and knock on wood. Anyway, and the budget, the negotiations are very far apart still, and care for our most vulnerable is really in the balance. Also, when we speak about everything old that we know doesn't work seems new again, in the areas of our Good Samaritan law, that is House Bill 1574. It is now ESB 1574. It originally was pinned to the original version, would have made it so that we would have created not justice by geography. We would have undone the patchwork of laws that were enabled by 5536 that was supposed to give us all an even playing field around the drug possession laws and access to services. However, it created opportunities for us, depending on where you are in the state, the penalties for being caught with a personal amount of substances or using substances in public. It varies from area to area. It can be a gross misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to 364 days in jail, or there can be other civil infractions added to it depending on where you are in the state. And that original language in that bill would have ended that uncertainty that we have with the patchwork of laws. And it also would have increased supports for folks and protections for people calling in to get services and help when somebody is experiencing an overdose. And sadly, that has been weakened by the current state of where the bill is right now. They did enter in protections again for people that are getting their drugs checked through drug checking to see what's in them so that they can try and engage in some harm reduction for themselves. However, what has been entered into the bill is that if you call anybody who is at the scene of an overdose is subject to civil asset forfeiture, and they are subject to being detained. And, overdose scenes are chaotic, they're traumatic. And we have done a lot of work in this state around trying to understand trauma better and understand the role of our laws and law enforcement in that, and choosing to do what this bill now says, sadly undermines a lot of that work, and it undermines the really difficult journey to try and gain some restoration and trust. Yeah. And so, it's really unfortunate.
So Malika, if I know that we have a couple of days till legislative session is over, what are your, if you had it your way, or if Vocal had their way,
yes,
what would that look like? What would the landscape look like for us?
I'm only going to touch in a few areas with a few. There's so many different bills we've been watching, but the ones that really have legs, prior mentioned by Taylor, the housing stability bill. Right now, it's not in a good place. There's been some amendments made to that bill that are actually really harmful. The 7% increase has been changed to 10%. And also, there has been a caveat put in there related to instability of the market. So that means it could go even higher, depending on inflation. And, what we're seeing is that our markets are being destabilized. And I think that this is just the beginning. And that is not what you want to see when you're trying to make sure that people stay housed and are able to afford where they're living. I do understand from the perspective of the landlords, and also I think that, we all want folks to be able to be stable. We all want people to be able to be housed, and to be able to stay in their housing. And where that bill is at right now is really disturbing. I would love to see 1574 put back to its original language. I know that that's asking a lot. I'm happy and grateful to the senators that advocated for protections for individuals, not just institutions. However, I would ask that we get rid of the language allowing folks to be detained. All folks at the scene of an overdose be detained. I would like that stricken. And to have at least be able to sustain recovery navigator programs across the whole entire state so that we can ensure that folks have access to behavioral health supports outside of the criminal legal system, which we know is not the ideal place for people to get the support that they need.
And I thank you so much, Malika, as a director, as a community advocate, as well as I always feel like you got your megaphone, like community. We need to be able to start giving each other the access. We need to start tapping in with each other. And I want to thank you for coming on, but I also want to make sure that community members are tapped in with Vocal. So if you can just look in this camera, give us a call to action and let us know where we can find y'all.
Well, you can find us at vocalwa.org, or you can also find us under purposedigityaction.org. We are under their umbrella. I would ask that you reach out to your senators and to your representatives and advocate for the maintenance of the Recovery Navigator program across our state, and also for further protections for folks that are experiencing overdoses and folks that are witnessing those overdoses. And I also would ask you to get involved in your local communities, such as Kent and around King County, that have implemented soap and soda zones in order to connect with, I know Lavender Rights Project has been coordinating advocacy, and we've been working in collaboration with them.
And that's it. And I thank you so much, Malika. I appreciate all the work that Vocal has done over the years.
Yes, I
Even while
appreciate
was
it
there.
too. Thank you.
But thank you for always trying to make sure that we're also prioritizing group folks and also knowing within some of these bills how harmful it could be towards our community.
Right.
So I thank you for giving folks that access. And when we come back, y'all, you're in for a treat because we have the new campaign manager, Moni from the amazing Lavender Rights Project. She'll be right here in this studio. You are watching Policy in Color, a We Live in Color special.
In Seattle, it's more than just coffee. It's community. At the station, we brew more than just your favorite cup. We brew connection. From Beacon Hill to Columbia City, we're a space for artists, activists, and everyone in between. A place to gather, create, and simply be. Whether you need a quiet place to work, a lively spot to meet friends, or just a moment to unwind, find your place at the station. More than coffee, it's home. Visit us in Beacon Hill or Columbia City. The Station, where community happens.
Truth Talks is the hottest streaming show on TV. Catch all the truths about pop culture to politics and today's biggest stars.
Why tiptoe through life?
Monday through Friday, live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and again at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific on Fox Soul.
And welcome back, y'all, to We Live in Color, Policy in Color, a We Live in Color special. I'm your host, Deontay Damper, and I'm just grateful for Taylor and Malika coming in. But, I think that we have to take a deeper dive. And I think that as we are talking about the things that are happening locally for us, what does safety look like? I think, like Malika said, we're in danger. Who better to have the discussion with than the new campaign manager for Lavender Rights Project, Moni.
Thanks, Deontay.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you because I think that there is a lot of our community members, especially our trans siblings, that are in fear. And as a campaign manager, I know that one of the things that y'all have been working on has been to stop soap and soda, right? But what does that look like? What is Stop Soap and Soda? Because I I was gonna go get a soda and get some soap, but that's not it.
Heard you. We're not getting soap and soda. Well,
Okay.
I'll take some soap and soda.
Okay.
But that's not what we're talking about. Okay. So soap is stay out of areas of prostitution, and soda is stay out of drug areas. So essentially, these are two ordinances that Seattle City Council adopted and that the mayor signed off on last fall. These are two ordinances that essentially ban folks from community who receive these orders if they get picked up and arrested. That essentially states that they can't be in those communities. So whether they're picked up for substance use, public substance use, and or selling it, or for soliciting services, sex workers, or for, essentially, just an array.
Yeah.
Just an array.
But
of
it just
people.
seems like just existing, you going to jail.
Existing.
Just being in the space and being communal with folks, you're going to jail.
Yes.
You know, me and my friends used to hang out in a specific area, and we used to just stand on the corner.
Absolutely.
And because we chose to exist, we're being criminalized for that, right?
So the criminalization happens because, the reason why Lavender Rights is focusing on a Stop Soap and Soda campaign is because these ordinances essentially criminalize people's existence, like you said, but it creates a platform for law enforcement to essentially continue to do what they've always done, but with more money behind them, which is essentially profile people, right? So if you look a certain way, if you talk a certain way, if you act a certain way, if you look suspicious in any type of way, which is all subjective, depending on, what someone deems suspicious, you could be profiled and you could receive a soap or soda ban. Not soap or soda ban. Sorry.
But no. But we ain't got to talk like that. It's a ban.
Yeah, you might receive that in your
Citation,
sentencing,
forced treatment,
and then you'll be banned essentially from entering that community.
What I'm afraid of in that space is like there are so many folks that are banned from specific areas, but it's like, wait a minute, I get I get treatment in this space, right? Wait a minute, I pick up my medication over here, or grandma lives over here, and then if they are kicked out of that specific area, then survival mode really starts. Right?
Then where are you supposed to go? To more unsafe areas, areas that you are not familiar with, communities that you're not familiar with. I think that we forget that when folks are outside, whether they're working, whether they're houseless, whether they are using, that they're still people and that they still love in these communities, that they still grow in these communities, that they still work, that they raise their children, that they're connected to people, right? So you displace somebody from the community that is everything that they know, and then essentially where are they supposed to go? And then you put them in an unsafe community where people don't care about them, where they can't receive services, where they can't visit their children, where they can't go to their regular community places, and it just essentially disorients a person's whole being. So really what we're focused on with the LRP campaign is one, we want to abolish these ordinances, just get them out of here, right? In 2020, a lot of the similar the prostitution loitering bills that happened were repealed because they were disproportionately impacting gender diverse communities, Black and brown people, queer people, and sex workers. They were already repealed because they were racist and transphobic. So it's very interesting that in 2025 that we have folks that want to push forward this agenda that essentially we've already proven doesn't actually work to the benefit of our people, of caring for people.
Yeah, so Moni, what do we do now? Because I feel like that this ordinance is only going to harm us.
Absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of folks that might not look like us are focused on it in a way, but not in the way of making sure that we're prioritized. Taylor talked about it earlier, just like, hey, as being an ally, creating the space to also making sure that we're prioritizing our folks first. Like, what do you suggest we do?
It's making sure that people that look like you and me people who have our lived experiences, whether they're queer, whether they are trans, whether they are gender diverse, whether they're sex workers, whether they use substances or not, that they are at the forefront of the conversation, right? Because it's the lived experiences that we're going to platform that essentially show people why these things don't actually work. They show, if we continue cultivating our spaces and our voices like we are doing at LRP and show up at the forefront of these things, they'll deny, you can get 60 sex workers in a room to go to city council and oppose this thing, right? And then you'll get other folks from community who city council has deemed means more, or that their voice means more,
Wow.
right? But we also know that with any social and political movements, that the people always win.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to champion ourselves, and we have to continue making strides and continue being in conversation, but also being at the forefront of the conversation because it disproportionately impacts us.
Yeah. And how can we get tapped in with Lavender Rights?
Absolutely.
LRP. I mean, I'm tapped in, but I think
You
it's
are
really
tapped in.
important for community folks to be tapped in. And you're
Absolutely.
also, I have to ask too, what made you choose LRP as a campaign, to be their new campaign manager?
Ooh, what made me choose LRP?
Yeah.
I believe in Black liberation. And I think that a Black trans feminist politic at the center of that liberation is central to my ethos. It is how I live, it's how I breathe, and it's the things that it's how I move through the world. So when I think about an organization like Lavender Rights Project that continues to, just tackle every hard issue, to show up in community, to offer resources, offer legal help, offer policy information, that is the type of work that I want to be aligned with in my life. So I've always been a part of LRP in many ways. And now I'm officially on staff. Yeah, which is awesome. So ways that you can get involved, right?
Yeah.
So we are, our campaign has been in slow phases, but now that I'm here as the campaign manager, we're going to go straight in with phase one.
Okay.
So phase one of our campaign is our community narrative project. So essentially in a couple of weeks, I'll be launching on our website a platform in which people can share their own stories and narratives that we can use to collect data, right? Because what we do know is that sometimes people don't really care about what you got to say. They care about the numbers. So what we're going to be doing is posing questions to community to receive data based upon prompts around the ways that soap and soda disproportionately impacts them. We have our new community outreach support person for the campaign, which I'm really excited about, to actually get on the street, talk to the folks who don't have access to these websites, who aren't going to walk in, who aren't connected to organizations. Because oftentimes it's the people who are already in the rooms that are leading the conversations, and the ways that I want to approach this work, that's not how I want it to be.
Yeah. And I think that it's really important for us to kind of really make sure that, as you said, to prioritize Black trans femmes in this specific movement, because we already know the displacement is huge.
Yeah.
In this climate, in this space where people perform like they are prioritizing our sisters and brothers and non-binary folks, and in reality, they're only tokenizing them for grants.
But
in the midst,
go on.
This is the show, but it also is really important to make sure that we're uplifting those folks as allies. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Can't wait for you to actually come on and be a guest so we can unpack all of your things.
Yes.
But I really want community members to get into phase one, to get into some of these listening sessions, to get into LRP. So if you can give community members a call to action right there and where to find you.
A call to action, visit lavenderrightsproject.org. Follow us on all of our social media, whether that be Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram is where we will be dispersing a lot of information around this soap and soda campaign. And so ways that you can get involved, ways that you can show up to meetings, community action, events, will all be posted there, but also we're just going to get the word out by talking to each other in real life.
Yeah.
And that's what I really want to focus on, people talking to each other in real life.
And supporting
Yeah.
each other in real life.
Yeah, and spend your bread if you got it.
Yeah.
If you really believe in Black trans liberation and you have the means to spend your money, put your money into organizations and people who are on the ground doing the work. Because this work is not easy, it is taxing, right? It takes a toll on your body, your spirit, and your mental health. And we need the resources and the monetary support to be able to make this work sustainable for us.
I know that's right. Well, I want to thank you for coming in, girl.
Thank you,
Congratulations on the new
Deontay.
position. And, you know, I just appreciate you and can't wait to see what else LRP has in store.
Yes, I can't wait to come back. Thank you.
Now, thank y'all. Now, up next, we have the amazing Lisa Keating from the Washington LGBTQ Commission. You don't want to miss this. You're watching We Live in Color Policy Special.
Ready to be intentional with your spending? Whether you're gifting it or using it for yourself, the Buy Black card allows you to shop at many different Black-owned businesses across the greater Seattle area, like Love a Latte, Dramer Ice Cream, Motif's Beauty Supply, Pizza by Ruffin, The Spa House by Queen Care, and so many more. You can see the full list of participating businesses when you sign up for your Buy Black card at intentionalist.com. And thanks to our friends at BECU, you'll save 20% when you load your card. Spend like it matters with the Buy Black card.
Africatown Plaza is our latest affordable housing development project. It's 126 units of affordable housing over community commercial space.
It's the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 10 years, that I was able to design for people who look like me.
Africatown Plaza is a beacon of hope.
Africatown Plaza is a love letter to the community.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to We Live in Color. We have a special episode, Policy in Color, hosted by myself, and I want to actually get into our very last guest, the amazing Lisa Keating.
Hi.
How are you?
I don't always know how to answer that question anymore. I mostly say compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you live the work and your profession is the work, you gotta compartmentalize things to be able to find moments of joy and find moments of rest and peace.
Which has to be a lot, being with the Washington State LGBTQ Commission. And congratulations on the new role.
Thanks.
I wanted to actually ask a question about how you figure out how you're going, how do you prioritize, especially in this climate? What does prioritization look like in this climate?
Yeah, well, I think the structure of the commission, we were actually stood up by legislation in 2019, and we have 15 commissioners that are appointed by through the governor's office. And actually our agency is an arm of the governor's, within the governor's cabinet. And so we have commissioners that represent all regions of the state, and also multiple intersecting identities. And so with their collaboration and input, they help set what are the priorities and the strategic plan for the commission.
See, and my other concern, which is really great, right? But I think about, I live in King County, so it's easier for me to get access of using my mouth, right?
Yeah.
But I also think about our community members in the rural areas. What's some of the work that y'all have been doing to actually outreach to some of those folks?
Yeah, so we do have commissioners in Central and Eastern and Southeast Washington as well. So they have been instrumental in helping us as an agency connect with communities and the folks that are doing the work and serving those in those communities. One of the other ways we started doing listening sessions, and we just did one, actually, Taylor mentioned it earlier, but we did one with nonprofits, particularly given the federal landscape, whether it is through the executive orders or through funding freezes and just the chaos that is coming, or that just continues through the federal administration. And we did that. The listening session was so powerful. We just co-hosted that last week, and there were multiple organizations and folks that are serving in like very rural areas. And so this is like part of our responsibility as a commission is to do that outreach and to create those opportunities so that we can be that gatherer, that, you know, we can help convene people and gather the issues and the impacts, and also the things that are going really well, the things that are working.
Yeah, because there are some things out here that are working. And what are some of those things that are working for some of our queer folks out here?
Well, I would say one of the things that really stood out to me through this listening session was listening to some folks in rural communities that are particularly conservative. And when they're serving youth, the ways that they have been able to find, create programs and opportunities, events and opportunities for youth to still have some privacy and autonomy, because they're not always out. So how do they do that in ways, you know, where it might maybe partner with a library, right? So it's actually, they're hosting a book club, but it's not called, say, a queer book club. And so I felt like it was an opportunity for me to listen to some of the real innovation that people are doing to meet the actual needs of the community that they serve.
Yeah, and one of the things that I have noticed with the commission is how much that they have been trying to tap in with folks recently, because I heard that there's some openings.
There are. Yeah.
What are the requirements? What organization, like how can we continue to try to tap in that space?
So folks can apply through our website, and we are going through the process of commissioner appointments, which is really exciting. And so we, some of the ways that we're trying to get the word out is through our social media channels, through our newsletter, and our commissioners as well. And so we also have prioritized where are the areas that we don't have the voices and representation that we need to fully represent the state. And so really rural, central, north, like OHOP, you know, like Whatcom County and kind of along that border of Washington State, we don't have as much representation. We want to grow representation through our commissioners in Southwest Washington and Yakima and Ellensburg, and also in the Tri-Cities, so that we have more of a diverse geographical representation, rather than, because I know it often feels, and I think there's truth to feeling like a lot of the decisions are made on what happens along the I-5 corridor, particularly between Olympia and maybe Everett. And it doesn't always include a lot of people. And Washington's a large state and a really rural state in many areas.
Yeah, and I gotta ask this question for you. Being in this position, in this climate, how have you been taking care of yourself?
Well, I'm also the mom of a trans, now young adult. It's super weird to say. So we never really unplug, right? It's really difficult to ever completely remove ourselves from like the realities that continue to play out. But I have a Peloton bike, and rage is a mentor is my motto, my personal motto. So I work on a lot of rage on my Peloton. I am in community with people that I know that love and care for me. And I think like one of the ways that I'm learning to be better about self-care is allowing others to care for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. I'm going to receive that. I'm going to receive that, and I really just want to thank you too for coming on as well, and really want to push community members out there to not only apply, but also know that they could be a part of the solution. When I was talking about protecting and educating and building, the commission has done some really great work over the years, and just really happy to see you at the helm. So if you can do me a favor and just look at that camera and let community members know where to find you.
Yeah, you can find us on our website, Washington State LGBTQ Commission. .gov, I believe. And then we also have, you can follow us on our social media channels. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And we also have a monthly newsletter that comes out the first Wednesday of every month. And it'll be a pop-up. As soon as you go to our website, you can sign on. And we really work hard to collect information from what's happening within state agencies, in the community, and push that out to folks so that we are working to grow. We're growing to be a trusted source and a place that people, like a hub, that people can come to be able to find the resources and information that they need.
That was good. Okay, wait a minute. You might need to come take my seat.
I got a job.
Okay, cool. But thank you so much, Lisa. And I'm wishing you and everyone out there in the commission the best. And what I mean by the best is I hope that y'all are all taking care of yourselves, because there's just a lot to do to mobilize, and hope that community there is also there to help uplift that and also use their voices.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we will be back as I wrap this thing up. You are watching Policy in Color, We Live in Color, special episode.
Getting the scholarship really changed the conversation. It went from, no, I can do school in my free time and make it work, to I could only focus on school and I can be the best I can be every single day. I can soak up everything. I can read before class and make sure I'm not just learning enough to pass the test. Like, I could really pour all my time into school. That's what having a Seattle College Foundation scholarship did for me.
Ready to be intentional with your spending? Whether you're gifting it or using it for yourself, the Buy Black card allows you to shop at many different Black-owned businesses across the greater Seattle area, like Love a Latte, Dramer Ice Cream, Motif's Beauty Supply, Pizza by Ruffin, The Spa House by Queen Care, and so many more. You can see the full list of participating businesses when you sign up for your Buy Black card at intentionalist.com. And thanks to our friends at BECU, you'll save 20% when you load your card. Spend like it matters with the Buy Black card.
All right, y'all. Well, that's all that we have today for this episode. I need to thank my amazing guests, Taylor, Malika, Lisa, and Moni, for coming in and letting us know how we can prioritize our community members, not just through policy, but also through community access. You heard a lot about allyship. You heard a lot about partnership. But above all else, we cannot do this alone. So let's continue to walk alongside each other with love. Season 3 of We Live in Color starts now. Join us next week as we have the amazing Beyonce St. James. You have been watching We Live in Color.